thank the Chautauqua Institution for inviting me to deliver this lecture, and the Robert H. Jackson Center for helping to bring me here. It is a really profound honor to be with you today. My topic today is women at the High Court, and how the presence of 3 women in a remarkably compressed amount of time has changed, probably irrevocably, and I think in lots of interesting ways, the way the Supreme Court works. But because, as John mentioned, I'm trained as a lawyer, I have a bunch of caveats and footnotes before I do. And the first caveat is that this is a case study that I'm presenting that encompasses only 4 people and only 30 years. So in the grand sweep of history, I don't want you to think that we can draw any massive conclusions right now. We're looking at a data set that's awfully small. And the other thing I think I want to say is that there is a preparatory question underneath all of this, which is, does it matter that there are women at the court at all? Women like to think it matters. I think most men like to think it matters, but why? Do they change outcomes? Do they think differently? Is there a different way that women behave on the bench? And these are some of the questions I want to probe with you today and try to answer, I think, a foundational question, which is, everybody likes to say that the court should be representative, but why? The last thing I want to say in answer to this question, does it matter, is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg answered that question quite resoundingly this summer. She was on a panel with Sandra Day O'Connor, and when Justice Ginsburg was asked, how many women are going to be enough at the Supreme Court? I mean, really, what are you asking for, Justice Ginsburg? Without even a second hesitation, she said, 9. And then she said, don't forget that for a long, long time, it was only 9 men. It's our turn. So what Sonia Sotomayor said at the time was, you may recall, and she was responding by the way to Sandra Day O'Connor, who has very famously said, I mean, O'Connor doesn't believe in this gender material at all, and O'Connor has famously said, and continues to say, a wise old man and a wise old woman will always arrive at the same conclusion. That's what she knows, that's what she believes. Pushing against that, Sotomayor looks at the studies and says, I would hope that a wise Latina woman, with the richness of her experiences, would more often than not reach a better conclusion than a white male who hasn't lived that life. And that really becomes the thing with which she is almost crucified at her hearings. But if you look at the studies, and this is, I think, the kicker, and it's fascinating, the truth of it is women's brains aren't different from men. Surprise! We decide things the same way. More often than not, female judges and male judges arrive at the same conclusion. The different outcomes that are fascinating, and this is a whole really emerging area of research, come about in studies that show the effect of a woman judge on a panel with 2 men judges. So women and men don't judge that differently, but the presence of a woman on a 3-judge appellate panel with 2 men changes everything. And the study that starts to think this through is a 2008 study by Christina Boyd, Andrew Martin, and Lee Epstein. And they find that even though men and women judge the same most of the time, 3-judge panels on appeals courts from 1995 to 2002, male judges are significantly more likely to vote for the plaintiff in a sex discrimination suit, and it's limited to sex discrimination suit, if there's another woman on the panel. And this is very consistent with the 2005 study that's done, that is in the Yale Law Journal, that says that in harassment cases, in sexual harassment cases, if there's a female judge on the panel, the likelihood of the plaintiff winning, even with 2 male judges, goes up by 86%. 2010 study shows, and this is brand new, again, these studies are complicated, it's hard to control for ideology and politics and everything else. But a 2010 study comes out and says that after Sandra Day O'Connor joined the U.S. Supreme Court, William H. Rehnquist increased his support for the sex discrimination plaintiffs from 25% of the time to 50% of the time. And the last thing I want to say, having told you Having told you that Ginsburg and O'Connor, in a study that was done in 2010, only agreed on 52% of the cases they heard in their lives. In the gender and abortion cases that they heard sitting together, they agreed 90% of the time. So I want you to think about the possibility, and this is kind of wacky, but it's my thesis, and I'm sticking to it. I want you to think about the possibility that empathy is contagious. That the idea that I really want to impress upon you is not necessarily that we need women judges, but we need women judges to tell men judges what they don't know. And so to conclude, I think what I want to say about women and how they're changing the court is not so much that they're changing the way the court looks. Big hearings notwithstanding, that's not what matters. What matters, and I think it matters forever, is that they're changing the way the court looks at us. And I think that's exactly what good courts should do. I thank you so much for your patience.